It's a question of, hold on, I know what you're saying. I accept what you're saying. Listen, I accept that's what Quran says. Okay, now listen. No, hold just a moment. This is quite important. This is quite important. You see, one has to understand something again, that Quran is supposed to be a final word, right? The final word doesn't mean what? It means that the verification of anything esoteric regarding human nature. Esoteric. Now, esoteric experience.
What does the Quran say?
Just a moment, let me finish.
Could you substantiate your claim?
Yes, of course.
I'm not familiar with that claim.
Anything comes from God. Anything comes from God. You're not familiar with it. Well, the thing is,
have you got a copy of the Quran?
The problem is.
Would you like to just show us?
I have one. It's okay. But what is that you want? What is that?
No, it's just you said the Quran talks about everything esoteric about human beings.
Because of course.
Can I just finish?
Yes.
If you mind doing me a favour, you don't have to do this, but I'm just asking you if you wouldn't mind doing it. When you make claims about the Quran, would you mind just telling us where in the Quran it says these things that you're claiming?
Okay.
Because
it's very simple.
I'm not familiar. There's a lot of things you're saying. I've read the Quran. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
But I just don't recognise what you're stating from the Quran.
Of course.
So if you would do me the honour of just telling me where it says these things in the Quran, then we can move forward.
Yes.
Is that
Okay.
right?
Okay. Hold on. It's not a question.
Fantastic.
First of all, just a moment.
We have a Quran
just
here.
Just a moment. Please don't make a show. Hold on one second. Hold on. Listen. Do you see God? Do you see God as you speak? Do you see God?
I'm looking at you.
No. When you answer the question, do you have a problem to answer a direct question?
I did say no.
It's no. Okay, leave it there.
No, I'll
leave it
answer
there,
the way I
please.
choose.
No, yes, but no, this is a very simple question.
Yeah.
Okay.
My answer was
No,
very simple.
I ask you, do you see God?
And my answer is no, I see
Okay,
you.
that's it. Okay, so here's my question. If you don't see God, it means that the entire experience of divinity is entirely an internal experience. The experience of your soul is an experience that is inner one. It's not external one. It doesn't mean I'm not finished. I am not finished. No. I'm saying generally speaking, just like even the revelation of Muhammad, all the holy prophets, every time there was a vision. Just a moment. No, I'm not. You're interrupting, which is rude. Okay, it's rude.
Are you a Christian?
Let me finish my point. Please, would you allow me to finish my point? Therefore, the whole experience of divinity is the experience of the internal natures, the inner experience, which allows us then to see the work of God externally. However, the initial impulse regarding anything spiritual is an inner experience in the first place. So when you ask me, show me in the Quran what it says, actually the entire experience, that you, according to you, Muhammad has received, was actually the experience through astral world, which was through visions, not through direct experience, because it was not directly from God, but through an angel, which you claim to be Gabriel. That's one. And two, many of them was in the dreams, that's where the soul is actually located in the astral world, which you can only come to understand when you understand the difference between the external self and the internal self, or the inner self and the outer self. Therefore, when you're telling me, so here's another thing regarding Islam. Hold on, just a moment.
Would it be speak, please?
No, because now I want to show you that the Quran is entirely the Quran. You're asking me about show me Quran.
You're just talking at me endlessly.
No. Sometimes the thought is with structure.
Okay.
Sometimes the thought is structure. It's not just the one break.
Will you let me speak?
I will. Yes. Sometimes thought is not just the one break. Sometimes a mud hut. Sometimes a thought is like a castle or temple. Yes. So I'm trying to say to you, the Quran, if you correctly understand, in fact, can be looked at as a structure that wants to understand entirely through inner self, not the outer self. Go ahead, speak.
Right. My question to you is, are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
Right. And what do you believe about Jesus?
What about Jesus? Okay, so we're diverting right now.
Can you just answer my question?
Yes.
Because you were quite strict in me not interrupting or changing the subject. This is relevant. Are you a Christian? Do you believe Jesus is God?
Yes, of course, Jesus is God.
And you believe Jesus died on the cross for your sins?
Well, no. Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm asking you.
No.
Do you believe that Jesus died on the cross?
What do I believe regarding Jesus? You can ask. So I can tell you, Christ is that being.
Thank you. Do you believe Jesus died on the cross for your sins? Is my question to you.
Jesus showed us the way to overcome our mortal state. So right now, as you are, in present moment, you're in a mortal state, yes? We're all gonna die.
Okay.
Therefore, hold on, you asked me a question. Christ showed us how to overcome it, how to overcome our mortal state.
How did dying on the
just
cross?
a moment.
How did
He was.
dying
No,
on
I'm
the
not
cross,
finished. I go Jesus. So
help
let me
that?
tell you. He's dying on the cross. His flesh died on the cross. However, Christ himself then descended into abyss to resurrect every single holy prophet, every soul that experienced death, including Adam. So whoever experienced death was then brought out of abyss through Christ, because he was the one. He was the only one with power to overcome death, and death was powerless in regards to his
I
life.
didn't ask you. I think you're preaching a bit.
No, you're
right
asking
to do
me.
so.
You're asking me.
So
about
the
Christ.
question is, why did Jesus die on the cross, in your view?
So I just told you. You didn't hear me.
No, I didn't. Explain again the beginning.
Okay, I will be very slow.
Yeah.
Because we are in a mortal state, therefore we know what death is. Sooner or later, we all gonna experience death. Now, death itself is a being. It's a being which is gonna claim you.
Death is a
Yes,
being.
of course it's a being. Everything is a being. Tree is a being.
Death is-
Nature is a
death is a
being.
thing, isn't it?
Nature is a being. Sun is a being. Everything is a
Death
being.
has a personality and
No,
ontology.
listen.
It has
Now you're speaking.
existence
Now
and
you're speaking in a human way.
Yes,
It's
I
an
am. I'm a
entity.
human being. I can't help it.
Death is an entity, and because it's the same entity.
it be an entity?
Of course, it's an entity.
What is it, of
It's
course?
very simple because.
It's not a thing.
No, I'll give you an answer. I'll give you an answer. You ask how can it be entity?
I don't
Because
see how it's a thing.
you ask how can it be an entity. So let me tell you. Because before this world was created, everything that was created through eternal rounds. And eternal rounds in itself are eternal rounds.
Oh, realms.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
Now all those rounds they're all actually filled with beings, and the being which human being knows is the being of death. Death itself, you can see it says in the Old Testament, which Muslims are supposed to follow, it says it entered. Then enter upon the eating the fruit of knowledge, that has entered. So actually, when you say to me, how can it be being? How can it enter the realm of
I
man?
think it says that in
Of
your
course
thing.
it does. Read it.
I have.
Read it. It's the book of Genesis. Of course, please read it.
I don't think it
So,
says
so that death is a being, and Christ showed us how to overcome our mortal state.
How did he show us to overcome our mortal state?
By renouncing ourselves in our present manifestation. Therefore, everything, because we all have sinful thoughts, we all have violent thoughts.
But
We all
how
have
does Jesus do this? You give me the theory.
by renunciation.
What does that mean?
Self-renunciation.
Right.
Now we renounce.
how did
We're
Jesus,
renouncing.
Excuse
we're-
me, hang on a second.
Yeah.
I don't understand why, in your view, how Jesus' death affects that. Because Jesus, Jesus could just be a wise teacher who could teach us to deny ourselves. But the problem Mohammed said.
No, that would be like
an example. We're not supposed to give in to our nafs, our desires. We're supposed to submit to God. Now, Jesus, of course, taught the same thing because he was a Muslim prophet. But what I don't understand is why.
Now you're preaching. It was not a Muslim prophet. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Why does Jesus have to die to demonstrate that when simply teaching it like
It's very
like the
simple.
prophets?
It's very simple. It's because Christ came to the world, as in his own words, he said, "Follow me. I am the way." So,
What is
hold
he the
on,
way
you're asking
to?
questions.
What is he the way
hold
to?
on, you're asking questions.
What is he the way to? You don't ask, you're
Listen,
the preacher.
let me. No, I'm not preaching. I'm trying to show you logic.
You are preaching.
I'm trying to show you logic, and I tell you why I'm not preaching. You're not going to hear it anywhere else. Listen. Think for a moment of the women somewhere in Africa right now, living in the worst hellholes in the world, where they're being raped towards dark, when they have no escape. Wouldn't they say, God, take this cup of suffering away from me? They would. So when Christ came to the world, he came and he addressed everyone. He came those who are being tortured, who are being abused, who are being killed, and those
But how does
also
he help
have
them?
things.
How does he help
came
people?
to address everyone.
How does he help
That's
people
why he
who are
came.
being tortured? I genuinely don't get this.
I know you don't get it.
A man
I know
who
you
lived
don't get it.
No, I don't. A man who
I know,
lived
amazing. Go
a
ahead.
man who lived 2,000 years ago,
Yeah.
in your view, who died on a cross, in your view, somehow this helps a woman in Africa who's being tortured. Can you explain to me how?
It's because
what
she
is the
knows
connection?
what he meant. when Christ, I told you, he said, "Here I'm the way, the truth, the life."
What is he the way
when
to?
he said the
What is
words,
he the way to?
when he said the words to God. So because we're in a mortal state, first you have to overcome mortal state. The reason why you don't see God right now, or the angels, or the heavenly realms,
How does it help
is
the woman
because you're in
being
a mortal
tortured?
state.
So coming back to your example, a woman in Africa being
Yes.
tortured, how does your belief in Jesus' death on the cross
Yes.
help this poor woman in Africa being tortured now? This is your
Because
example.
she knows what he meant.
What did he mean?
He meant that
don't get
the burden of evil in this world is so unbearable for any soul. So when this woman, for example, if she's being, let's say, tortured or raped, whatever else,
Yeah.
when she knows such a words have been spoken, she said the same words, and the God has entered the heart of every human soul.
How is she
so
helped?
she knows it.
No, how does
Those words were never spoken
what does she know?
before.
What does she know?
That the words he came to the world
The what?
that she can relate to.
What can she? I don't get. What is she relating to that will help her being
The
tortured?
unbearable, the burden of evil.
Right. So I'm a woman being tortured, and I think, what? To help me.
You think, of course, if you be really tortured, which obviously is being hypothetically right now, obviously, by the way you're ignorant by the posture, if you really will be tortured, you will obviously want it to end. And if there will be no way for you to end it,
So how does-
because there will be no will,
How does your message
because there
help
will be
her?
no will of
No,
your
I don't
own.
get it. How does your message help her being tortured?
Is because then she understands that actually that there's a path laid out, that she's gonna lose hope when she's gonna say, "God, you must have abandoned me." So let's say she's a God-fearing
So she-
woman.
she
Hold on,
abandoned
you're
her.
asking a question.
Okay.
Let me give you an answer.
I'm just following it
Hold
through
on,
very carefully.
hold on.
In
Yes, exactly.
So I don't understand.
When you said, how would she be helped? Because she will know. Let's say such a woman, for example, or child or man would feel, "God, you must have abandoned me. You must." Let's say it's a God-fearing person. Yes. Let's say, what have I done to deserve
So
this?
she's abandoned.
Yes.
So she's
So then she'll feel abandoned.
Right.
And those words also were spoken. So when Christ came to the world, it showed people the way that yes, the soul gonna experience hopelessness.
So how is she
They're gonna
stop feeling
experience-
abandoned? How is
Let
she
me
stop
just
feeling
finish my
abandoned?
sentence.
Okay.
They're gonna experience hopelessness. They're gonna experience being abandoned. They experience all those things, and yet it's the path to God.
How is feeling? Let me. You see, what you said here is a woman who feels completely abandoned by God, and you think this is a path to God. I don't get it. It doesn't make
It's
sense to me.
because it makes
and she's
sense.
been tortured.
It makes sense.
I don't get
it
it.
makes sense because what did Christ said? You see, I understand you don't understand those
I don't.
things. Okay, Christ Himself said these words: "My kingdom is not of this world. Whoever belongs to God does not belong here."
So remember, we're talking about a woman in Africa.
if you have a
who's been
fridge,
tortured.
if you have a fridge full of
How
food,
is she
a
helped by
nice
that?
house, that means you belong here. If your fridge is empty, if you're hungry, if you're an orphan, if you're hopeless, that means that this is not your world, and that means when God says, "My world is not of this world," that means you belong to God.
Right. So I'm not being funny here, and I'm not very bright. I actually don't understand what you're saying.
I know,
don't
it's
understand
amazing,
how
amazing.
a woman who's been tortured in Africa could have this kind of knowledge.
Not knowledge. She speaks the same words like Christ.
Yes, but you see, saying if a woman says and feels I'm abandoned by God, she's not helped in any way. Her situation is made even worse by despair and alienation.
Yeah, you don't- I know you
I
don't get
don't
it.
understand how this is in any way helpful
It's
in your religion.
it's because I told you, you believe that this world is the world that God has created. However, what was
you don't? You don't?
just a moment.
You don't believe that?
Just a moment, please. When Satan tempted Christ, what did he do? He took him up the mountain. He showed all the kingdoms of this world, and what did he say? All this was handed down to me. I will give it all to you if you bow down and worship me. Therefore, who is the ruler of this world? Yes, it's Satan. And what I'm saying to you, whoever is actually rejected by this world, that means that's already indication for you that belongs to the world of the kingdom of God.
I'll just say my final thing here. I've asked you repeatedly
You
to
cannot comprehend,
explain how, in your example, not mine, a woman who's been tortured in Africa. I'm not quite sure why Africa's got to do with it, but
Why not?
But she's been
For example.
tortured. you offer her a religion or a worldview that says she will be despairing, she will be alienated from God, and this will somehow be her salvation. But you've not, in my view, explained how at all. So therefore, I'm now going to thank you very much for explaining all this to me. I'm going to end the conversation.
You're clueless, right? You're clueless.
Because I don't think you have explained.
Amazing.
So there you go. Maybe other people can understand. I don't understand.
I think stones will move faster than you, which is quite incredible, but it's okay. Enjoy yourself.
You really think so?
And it's good to be insulted by a Christian at the very end, isn't it?
Yeah, he's comparing stones with a human.
Anyway.
He asks yes or no, and that's
sorry,
it. You let him speak, and when he wants to ask a question,
Israelites will return to take down Islam.